Hello and welcome back to 1874 in association with Match Bingo. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by the Athletics Aston Villa correspondent, Jacob Tanswell, to take a look today at the top 5 race. Of course, Greg and I did our normal show that we do on a Monday on a Saturday before Sunday's fixtures had obviously taken place because Saturday is before Sunday. So obviously the results yesterday play into the race for the top 5. And in all honesty, I'm absolutely bricking it ahead of next weekend's games as Villa travel to Old Trafford. So what I wanted to do is get Jacob alongside me to talk through how the weekend's results have affected things, how Jacob sees it, talk about what a horrible last day it's going to be, because it's going to be one of those days where the league table's changing every 5 minutes and you sat there watching it, just hoping that things go your way. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and just obviously we'll reflect on the weekend a little bit as well, and we'll reflect on Villa's game on Friday because I haven't spoken to Jacob about it until now. Jacob, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you. I've noticed you've changed your Villa shirts behind you.
I have. Lazy. Someone criticised me in the comments, and they were right to. I've got so many shirts. It's pure laziness.
You had John McGinn behind you for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I do love John McGinn, and I thought he was excellent again on Friday. But yeah, I thought I'd go a little bit old school. Obviously, you'll know I fell in love with Juan Pablo Angel in person a couple of weeks. You know what's annoying, actually? I didn't think I had a Juan Pablo Angel shirt. Otherwise, I would have taken it with me. And then I discovered a few days ago, oh, you do have a Juan Pablo Angel shirt. So that was slightly frustrating.
Could have got it signed.
I know, but then I would never be able to wear it. I don't really like getting shirts signed unless I've already got that shirt.
Have you got any shirts hung up?
Not really, no. I tend to I've got an Emi Martinez signed shirt that's in my stepson's bedroom because he loves Emi Martinez, so I let him have it. I should say as well, this show is sponsored by Match Bingo. Do go and check them out because it's a really, really fun app and you can win some money as well. Lee Haynes won some money the other day, he told me, at Villa Park. So nice to see he's winning when I'm buying exactly the same tickets as him and I'm not winning. But well done to Lee and well done to anyone else that's won with Match Bingo. It's across all major football games and you can download the app and use it for Villa's game against Manchester United on Sunday. So do go and check that out if that is your thing. Right, Jacob, phonetic, is that a word? Frantic? No. Phonetic? Yeah. Phonetic, is that a word?
What are you trying to say?
Frenetic.
Yeah.
I got there in the end. A frenetic day of football yesterday in the Premier League and another frenetic weekend, including the FA Cup final, which does actually have permutations for Europe as well that may affect Villa indirectly. So we'll talk about that a little bit. How do you see things after the weekend? Obviously, Villa got their business done. So did Chelsea on the same night, which was quite annoying. Man City have still got to play a game on Tuesday. I think it is tomorrow. I think Manchester City have got to play. And who have I missed out? Newcastle lost. Forest won. So it's... where do we stand? What's going on? Let's flash the league table up as well at the same time as you're talking for those that are watching via YouTube.
Yeah, if I'm an Aston Villa fan or Aston Villa backrooms member or player, I'll be very confident actually because I think, Chelsea obviously go to Forest the final day. Forest at home, I think, are really good. I know they faded in recent weeks. But I think having that one more game, that final 90 minutes, I think we'll see the best of them.
Yeah, same.
I know Chelsea are still fourth, but they've not really impressed me. And they've had a few lucky victories, I think. And this is the type of game where they're going to have to rely on some experience, some know-how, some knowledge of navigating themselves through a game. And I don't know if they've got that. So I fully expect them to drop points. Maybe they lose or get a point. And I expect Villa to win. So simple mathematics, Villa qualify. City also, and they're going to be very deflated from obviously the FA Cup final. They're going to try and pick themselves up, but they know this has not been a good season. And they're playing two teams now who, do have something to play for to an extent, but they're just banana skin teams, aren't they? We saw that with Bournemouth a number of times. They're going to be quite fresh, I think. They're going to go to the Etihad. They're going to, the way City play, that suits Bournemouth. Lots of space to drive into, counter-attack. They're not going to have too much of the ball, which suits them perfectly. And I think they could cause some problems. And then they go to Fulham after that. And Fulham can beat anyone, can't they? So,
especially at Craven Cottage.
Exactly. So I think City have got a really tough challenge to win both of those games. If they do that, then they fair play, they deserve it. And I think Villa, depending on obviously the Europa League final, I think they should beat Manchester United regardless of that result. So yeah, I think Villa are in a good position. It was important they beat Spurs. I thought the second half was a good performance, comfortable in the end. And they can go to Old Trafford, knowing what they have to do. 3 points. If they win and other teams, also win, you just put your hands up and say, okay, the start of the season probably cost us. but they've done really well to get themselves back in this position and do. I think they can go on and finish in the top 5.
This league table here is just unprecedented, isn't it? To have this gap between 3rd and 7th. I mean, the title races, nothing's going on there. Nothing's really gone on for a while with that. Relegation scrap never really materialised. But this race for Europe, I've got to be honest, if my team wasn't involved, I'd be looking at this and thinking, this is a really, really exciting thing. Instead, I'm bricking it and I'm not looking forward to Sunday at all. But you just look at that: Newcastle 3rd on 66 points, Forest 7th with 65. In a race for Champions League, we might have seen, 2 teams going for it on the last day previous. I remember years where Arsenal and Tottenham have done that, for example. But to see this, to have so many teams involved and think, well, we could finish 3rd if all goes well, but also we could finish 7th here if it doesn't go well. The permutations are massive.
Yeah, they are. And I know Emery's been trying to stress the importance of qualifying for Europe, regardless of whether it's Conference League, Europa League, and Champions League. It's still a big achievement, and Villa's still going to have the European trips next year. So I think Emery's been trying to alleviate pressure on the players, but they're all focusing on getting a top 4, top 5 position. For most of the season, I don't really look at the table. One, because there's no point with Southampton, and secondly, things change so dramatically if you go on a run of form, and Villa have done that, and now they've got themselves in a position where they went from 10th in February to 5th now. I think it's going to be really important that Villa just focus on themselves. Of course, they're going to know live updates of what everyone else is doing, and it'll be quite interesting whether one team, for example, knows they need to win the game. Another result's not going their way, and they deviate away from their typical game plan. If 10 minutes to go and Villa are drawing, would he chuck another striker up top? Would he go 4-4-2? These are the things that are going to be really interesting.
We haven't got another striker. So
Daniel Martin, come on, don't forget him.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take it back.
But yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see how managers actually go into games, how they approach these games. Will they stick to being quite controlled, typical Unai Emery away performance where they're quite passive, they feel their way into games, or is he just going to think, we need to get this job done early, we need to go on the front foot, go attack this really fragile Manchester United team and put the pressure on these other teams who will be watching and thinking, oh my word, Villa are going to win this. We need to win as well.
Yeah. I would say if we go 1-0 up, you'd fancy us to be set on our way to win the game, but we went 2-0 up at Old Trafford last season and did not win the game. This year, my major grievance with this is the fact that we're going to Old Trafford. I know they're rubbish. I know they've been hopeless all season. I know Villa are a lot better than Manchester United, even if they win the Europa League. We know that. That's a fact. The points tallies tells you that. But sometimes you just, as a club, you have a ground where you have very little joy, and unfortunately, that ground for Villa is Old Trafford. There's some others as well, but Old Trafford has not been a happy hunting ground for Villa, and that is the bit that concerns me. But Villa should beat Manchester United because they're better than Manchester United, and if Villa take care of business, I'm really impressed with what we've done in the last 3 games in terms of winning them all, not conceding goals. Like, that just shows the sign of such a good team that they. There should be pressure in this situation because there's very little margin for error. But actually, across these 3 games, the way they've navigated it is so impressive. It's just about getting business done, taking care of ourselves, and we've really, really done that. And if we do it again on Sunday, like you say, they've done everything they could have done, really. And with the form team in the league at the moment as well. So the last few months, the lads have done everything that they possibly could. And if you do fall short, you fall short, and you take solace that you probably get Europa League. We hope. But they've done everything they can to get Champions League football here, and it would be such a shame if we don't do it now, and it would be such a big achievement to do that back to back.
Yeah, it would do, and I think one thing that you can probably take a bit of positive aspects from it is the fact that Villa's defence is so good. It's the first of March, the best defence in the league. Yeah. So you're not, this time last, Boxing Day, wasn't it, in 2023 that Villa went there? It was a horrible day. For me, it was awful because I was waiting for a player in the mix zone. After an hour, no one turned up, so I quickly tried to go around the Old Trafford pitch back to the press conference room. I got delayed because some crane was on the pitch, and I got shouted at because I was in the way of a steward or something. Then I go into the press conference room. Emery's just started. I have the audacity to walk into the press conference room, and there seems to be a camera on, and I dip underneath so I don't obviously get in shot. But he still has a go at me afterwards, whoever this cameraman is. So I look forward to seeing him on Sunday. And I just get literally... Everyone seems to take out all their frustration on me. I've done nothing wrong. And it was just a poor day, wasn't it, in terms of the second half. But what I will say is back then Villa were conceding quite regularly. They were giving up a lot of transitions. If you remember that game, 2-0 up, but it left so much space in the second half for basically the only thing that Ten Hag could do. But now, Son had a little spell, didn't he, in Friday for about 20 minutes. Villa are limiting those counter-attacking opportunities. They're being very much more controlled. They're a little bit nervy sometimes in the games, but they're being very professional. 3 clean sheets in a row. The spined team, Martinez, Konsa, McGinn, Watkins, are sturdy, doing a very good job. So I expect them to go to Manchester United to be professional, be defensively sound. And against the United team, that's probably not as good as they were last year on the counter. So everything really is set up for Villa to dominate a game and to really, assert themselves, from the outset.
Yeah, let's just assume that Man City beat Bournemouth on Tuesday. They very rarely lose games in a row, Manchester City. So if they beat Bournemouth, that puts them on 68 points. Of course, Villa could still catch them if they don't beat Fulham on the last day, which is actually, I didn't realise this. Doesn't make it meaningless, but if they lose one of those games, Villa still finish ahead of them. So they can win actually on Tuesday, and it doesn't change things massively. Am I deluded in thinking that on the fly here whilst we're doing this?
It's not ideal. It's not ideal because obviously go to 68 points, and obviously
but they're on 68. We're on 66, so they lose, we win on the last day. We overtake them.
Yeah. If they lose, but if they get a point, their goal difference is superior, isn't it?
So the goal difference is a complete right.
Goal difference is kind of it's not been great, has it? That's the problem. They've clawed it back quite impressively because it was minus for a little while.
Yeah, I know. Am I right thinking as well? We got 69 points last season, so we could be on to match last season's points tally. Is that correct?
That'll be if that's the case. Have a look down. That'll be remarkable because everyone.
Have a look, Jacob. I was hoping you were going to have a look.
I'm talking. Yeah, the thing is though, last year everyone's talking was about how good Villa were, and they were really good for really good period. Obviously, a tail back towards the end of the season, but this season it feels like ostensibly Villa haven't hit those levels. So it would be really quite surprising if they did match that
point more tally if we win.
Really, that shows progress, doesn't it? Emery's always about incremental progress, and that really is, and that'd be great, and it shows how good they've been in terms of getting performances in the second half of the season.
It's opposite of last season, isn't it? Where last season they started so well and then fell away at the end. They've actually done the opposite. I do remember saying in January actually that I felt like Villa season would go the opposite way. I think it was more out of hope rather than expectation or anything clever on my behalf, but I just choose to try and be positive and try and believe in the lads. But I did say that we'd kind of do the opposite of what we did last season, have a slow start. I think I said it at the start of the season as well, kind of getting used to Champions League football and the stuff that comes around that. Obviously, I wasn't expecting our squad to change so much in January, but even if we finish 6th and we get more points than we did last season when we finished 4th, you've just got to look at that and think, like those times Liverpool didn't win the league when they got 90-odd points. You're just unfortunate there.
Yeah, and I've wrote a few pieces about this from January and April where this is actually what the coaching staff and the senior staff thought. Actually, they were very mindful of how much alarmingly that they diminished in the final part of the season, and they were so mindful from the early months of the season not to approach that. So they've kind of wanted to peak at a certain time. So if you remember back in November, December, Emery was allowing players, certain individuals, days off. He wouldn't always necessarily do this, but he along with his medical team, sports science team, said, "Okay, we just need to hold these players back. We can't let them, be at the 100% physical mental peak because it's only so long they can sustain that for. They're going to at some point have to go down the hill. So we can just keep them steady. Of course, they're probably not at their best, not playing at their best, and that's an issue in itself. But if we can keep them physically fresh, we go into the January, we bolster with 5 signings. Most of them made an impact.
Yeah.
They give you a lift psychologically as well, don't they? So
sure.
I think after the Brighton game, that was when Villa thought internally that we're hitting our peak now. And they looked around, they saw Forest, like we've talked about this numerous times. They saw Forest, they saw City who's still toiling, and they thought, okay, we're in the best position now to really have a crack at this. And had it not been for that late goal at the Etihad, how well and what a great position Villa would be in, right, with even just an extra point.
Yeah, it would have really helped. It's the goal difference that is the big problem for us, isn't it? That's something that could prove costly come the end, but hopefully it doesn't. Just flash the fixtures back on the screen for those that are listening via audio, and forget Tuesday, forget Manchester City, Bournemouth. Just looking at, because we've just established if they lose and Villa win, then on the last day, then obviously Villa can still finish ahead of them even if they win on Tuesday. Just looking at it. So looking at the other fixtures, Fulham, Man City, Fulham will want to end the season on a high at Craven Cottage. Is there a valid route where they can still get Europe as well? I believe there is. You put something in our private chat earlier saying Chelsea would enter the Europa League as Conference League winners, and Newcastle's Conference League spot for winning the Carabao Cup would be passed on, with the Magpies going into the Europa League through league position. This would mean that the Premier League has 10 teams in Europe. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I've just understood everything that I've just read off the basically a sheet that you've sent me there. But can Fulham can still get Europe? Am I right in thinking
Yeah,
that?
they can. It's a remote possibility. You need Chelsea probably to either win the Conference League and then finish 7th, or Newcastle to finish in the top 6 and Chelsea to finish 7th, because of various permutations. So they can still do it. It's unlikely now.
Very unlikely from what you've just said.
It's unlikely, but they're still going to try and get a record points tally. Still, similar to Bournemouth, they're still going to try and finish as high as they have been in previous years. They're not wanting to fade away. So I think they're still going to be strong, especially at home. Fulham were a hugely different team at Craven compared to away from home. When they played at Villa Park a few weeks ago, I thought they were on a beach for most of that game, where you see them at Craven Cottage, and they're very good, they're very intense, they're very at it. So I think that's going to be a really, really tricky game as well. And the final day as well, a lot of teams, even if they aren't at the most, pressure's off really sometimes, so they go out and express themselves, and that's
Crazy
why
things happen.
That's why you see huge scorelines, isn't it, on the final day?
Liverpool 6-1 or 6-0, didn't they? The 1 year. Newcastle did Spurs like 6-5 or 6 as well a few years back after they'd already been relegated, I want to say. So strange things do happen on the last day. I think, like you say, Fulham are a difficult outfit at Craven Cottage. Well, we found that out many times going to Craven Cottage as Villa fans. I quite like the look of Fulham against Manchester City, because they want to end the season on a high as well. Like you say, the shackles are off. They've beaten plenty of big opposition at Craven Cottage over the last couple of years as well. So they'll certainly be looking forward to that one and enjoying that one, as will their fans. Newcastle Everton. God, you wish that was the last game at Goodison Park. You wish that was the other way. You wish that was the other way around, don't you? That's probably out of all the fixtures there. I think Newcastle at home needing a result, fans behind them, had a brilliant season, won the cup already, could get Champions League as well. Everton can be tricky at times. I don't see Newcastle dropping anything, I've got to say.
But Isak's not around, is he, at the moment?
True, lost at the weekend.
They had lost and they missed a lot of chances. Second half, they dipped off, didn't they? Everton can be quite frustrating. They can defensively be quite good under Moyes. They can cause issues on the break through set plays as well. So it's not a huge remote possibility that they do get something. But I expect Newcastle to win. But if Everton just hang in there, they could cause a few issues.
Yeah, and then Forest against Chelsea. Fair play to Forest, because it would have been quite easily to have been out of the conversation at this point, given what's happened to them over the last month or so. But they've kept their hopes alive, which I think as Villa fans as well. I think there's a lot of mutual respect between Villa and Forest in an ideal world. I think Villa fans and Forest fans would quite like each other to finish in the top 5. That's probably not going to happen. But what's happened with the weekend results is Forest are in the mix still. If they win, they give themselves a chance of top 5. Again, horrible team to play away from home, going to the City Ground, really tough place to go. They'll want to end the season on a high. Could be someone like Morgan Gibbs-White's last game, for example. He'll want to go out on a high. They're going to be in Europe of some description, but I think the fact that they're in the discussion for top 5 still going into that last day, that's hugely positive for us. And
they're playing a rival as well, so they're going to view it as It's going to be a perfect game. It's going to be nerves for both sides. Chelsea are going to go away from home, like I mentioned. They're going to be nervy. They're young. They're inexperienced. They've got a manager that wants to control games. He doesn't like it becoming chaotic, but Forest will try and make it a bit chaotic with the way they turn over the ball. They'll sit deep. They'll allow Chelsea to have it. They'll attack with pace. I really am confident of Forest winning that game. So if that happens, Villa need to do their job. And like I say, I think I can see Villa getting into top 4, top 5. Not I won't say comfortably, but there is certainly a direct route there. I don't trust this Chelsea team to put off big results. I don't think
even though they're on a decent run at the moment.
They're on a decent run, but throughout the season they've been on decent runs, and they just hit a roadblock, don't they? I really don't think they're a very good team. I think there's something off with them. I know they've done well. They're 66 points, but they haven't got this balance. They haven't got a spine. and they can easily lose their way and lose their shape in a lot of games. So I can see them losing to Forest, especially with an atmosphere. It's going to be pumped up, isn't it? And Villa know all too well from those final 10 minutes way back, when they lost that game, that the game can change in an instant.
Yeah. Actually, the fact that we beat Chelsea at Villa Park so late, really, that could be critical at the end of the season, couldn't it? I don't think we realised at the time how critical that result could be. Kind of set us on our way as well, didn't it? Was that the game post Palace? I know Brentford was the next one after Palace, wasn't it? We've just had to, but we've just embarked on this run where we've had to be almost flawless to be in contention, and we've done that. And you've got to give Villa a huge amount of credit. Before we go, then, obviously this isn't a preview show. There'll be a preview show later on in the week. Let's do a prediction between us of what we think points totals teams are going to end on. So at the moment, we've got Newcastle are in third on 66, Chelsea on fourth with 66 with 2 less goal difference than Newcastle, Villa fifth, 66 goal difference. Let's not even bother talking about it. Manchester City a point behind in sixth on 65 points, and Forest a seventh also on 65 points. But their goal difference is better than ours, not beyond the realms of possibility that Villa and Forest goal difference could level out on the last day, although I would say it's unlikely. So it couldn't be any tighter. So let's Man City playing Bournemouth at home then on Tuesday first. We're going to go Man City to win that one and put themselves on 68.
Yeah, we'll go City win.
Which would leave them third, Newcastle fourth, Chelsea fifth, Villa sixth, Forest seventh. So then on the last day, we saying Fulham are going to beat Man City, Jacob?
No, I think it'll be like
draw.
It'll be like a 1-0 win for City. Ruben Diaz header or something like that.
No, I think draw. Let's say draw.
You think? Okay, we'll say draw. So
that would put Manchester City on 69 points.
Yeah.
I think Newcastle will win.
Yeah.
So that's 69 points as well. So that's third and fourth gone. That then leaves it out of Villa, Chelsea, and Forest. Chelsea Forest draw, do we think?
Yeah, draw or Forest win.
I tell you what, I like your confidence, Jacob. Would you like? Obviously, you cover Villa, but if we don't get the Champions League, you're not going to be as upset as me. But would you? Because I'm trying to think. I'm looking at it from obviously my heart is always going to overrule my head for the most part. Whereas are you just more savvy than me because you haven't got the emotional ties that I've got. You seem very confident of a Forest win. I don't feel that way.
I know. I have belief in Villa. I think I have belief in Emma. I believe they have the mentality to win these type of games. Maybe I haven't got the scars you have, Dan, and that's why.
It's Old Trafford, mate. Like out of all these results, out of everything, you would look at those fixtures as a neutral and think the most banker result there is for Villa to beat Manchester United because they're useless. But I can't allow my brain to think like that.
Come on, Corny House. Remember those days?
Yeah, and Gabby, they have beat Man U twice, but I just generally, I think I'm scarred by last season because that should have been the year we should have won that. The fact we just haven't beat them while they've been absolutely useless, other than Emery's first game, and they weren't even that bad then. The fact we didn't beat them at all last season, they did the double over us.
McTominay late, wasn't it?
Yeah, the 0-0 this season was pathetic. Like I just can't allow myself to think that we're just going to go there and win. We might, obviously, I hope we do, and obviously we could go there and win, and we should go there and win. But my brain isn't working in that way.
That's what I mean. I think I'm probably more from a Cole point of view, where I think everything, the numbers, everything says Villa should win. With a bit more of the heart, and you've seen the scars, so I can understand your opinion. I'll probably be called nonchalant in the comments and be told that it's going to be a very difficult game. And it will probably be a difficult game because Villa will be nervy like they have been in the last couple of games. United will probably want to finish this awful season on a high, wretched season on a high. But I can just see a 3-1 win, Dan. I can see a 3-1 win. Villa gets into the finish fifth. Chelsea draw.
Chelsea finished seventh there. I thought you were saying Forest were going to win. So in your world, Chelsea dropped from fourth to seventh. I was going to say.
Yeah,
you're saying draw.
I don't particularly care where Chelsea finished, but Villa will finish fifth. That's my prediction.
God, that really is getting in by the skin of the teeth. I'd bloody love to finish third. Fourth, the highest I've ever seen Villa finish. I did go to games in the season. They finished second in the first Premier League season, but I was too young. I didn't have a season ticket until the season after. So, this Villa could finish third. That'd be the highest I've ever seen us finish. The highest I've seen us finish is fourth in 95-96 under Brian Little.
And you think as well, Villa have dropped. You felt like they've dropped a lot of winnable games, haven't they? A lot of winnable points. The 2 Ipswich games, the Brighton home game. These games where you probably expect Villa to win and they don't. So the fact that they're even here is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. So in conclusion, Jacob, you think Villa are going to do it?
Yeah, Villa finished 5th. Chelsea drop points.
Okay. I'm not even going to begin to predict
Dan.
anything. No, I can't. No,
I'm the only one doing it. Eh?
Yeah.
I want to get a battering in the comments, but because you're too scared.
Me and you did the preview, didn't we, on the Spurs game? But we were predicting 4s and 5s. That didn't. Actually, I curbed mine down to 3-0.
You did. I said, what did I say? 4-0.
You said 4-0, I think, or 4-1. I curbed mine down to 3-0. I can't possibly begin to predict what's going to happen here. All I know is I'm working at TalkSport on the last day on their YouTube channel, so I'm mainly obviously going to be watching the Villa game, but all the other games are going to be on around me that affect Villa. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing to be doing that. I can't work it out. But if you want to see him, if you're not watching the game live, you don't have Sky. If you want to watch me have an absolute meltdown live,
they can watch it with you, can't they, Dan? They can turn the commentary down, whoever's on.
Yeah, I don't know whether there'd be a delay that would affect me. I wouldn't want to watch it.
Is it on Sky? Is it?
A delay.
Is it on Sky?
I don't know. I don't know if they've announced it yet, actually. It'll be on telly of some description, though, won't it?
Yeah, Ben. Yeah.
But I'm going to have
Sky than TNT.
Yeah, I'm going to have all the games up in front of me, and I don't even know who I'm working with. So it's going to be a Chelsea fan. I know who that's going to be. Probably a Newcastle fan as well. They won't find many City fans, so it won't be anyone to do that. It's going to be horrible. That's going to be.
I'm just an eternal optimist, Dan, and I have faith in this Villa side. Maybe I'm a bit wet behind the ears, and maybe I'll learn my lesson after the game. But right now, I'm very confident.
Well, don't be getting in trouble at Old Trafford again like you did last year. You've got to be more careful this time round. Right, that just about does us, I think. Thank you very much to Jacob for joining me to have a look at the top 5 and how we see things going on Tuesday, obviously with the Man City game, and at the weekend, obviously post Spurs win on Friday. Go back and check out the other content on the channel. We've done a realistic transfers video that's doing very well that people seem to be enjoying, so go back and check that. Obviously, you can listen to that via audio as well, although I'd probably suggest you watch it on YouTube because Rollo and I filmed in person, and also the pod with Greg post Spurs has got a lot of relevance still, and obviously a lot of chat around Emi Martinez's future, so go and check that out as well. If you are watching via YouTube, if you could give it a like, comment and subscribe with your post notifications on. Let us know in the comments whether you agree with how me and optimistic Jacob are seeing things. Jacob has not been bruised at all in his Villa life so far. You can absolutely tell that. And if you're listening via audio, if you could also leave us a nice review, 5 stars on either Apple Podcast or Spotify, that would be absolutely fantastic. Be back tomorrow for some more content. Got a special video on strikers coming out tomorrow, so watch out for that. Have a great rest of the day / evening, and as ever, up the Villa.